everyone, it's me, Whimsy. Thanks again for joining me. I promised you that I would introduce you to my best friend, and she is here, the unbelievable Darleen Christopher. She is probably the best, you are the best astrologer I know. She's also probably the best tarot reader I know, but I wanted people to meet Darleen. She is working in the most beautiful part of the world also. She is in the Pike Place Market here in beautiful Seattle, Washington. I am also the godmother of your children. Let's not forget that. Anyway, welcome to your couch. I'm sitting in your couch, and boy, we had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and how have you been?
I am so grateful to you because I just manifested this dream chef right here. She made the most amazing dinner.
I did.
Oh my God, it was so good. She created this amazing experience where she said, "Okay, I'll make this a spectacular dinner. Just make one promise. Just get out of the kitchen." I'm like, whoa,
there you go.
Did I just get a genie?
And I'm a vegetarian. Usually I don't eat meat. I'm not 100% vegetarian, but I'm about 90%. So it was a little strange to be cooking turkey, but yeah, it was great to see you. Great to see the kids. They're growing up. So today I thought we would have an interesting conversation that's a little bit different than some of the conversations we've had in the past. And that has to do with just the dynamic of human relationships in general. Does that sound like fun to you?
Exactly what I was hoping to say.
All right, so why is it that sometimes you'll have a great relationship with somebody and other times you'll have a relationship that's completely conflicted, but then they'll go off and then they'll have a great relationship with somebody else?
Because you train them.
No, I mean really no. But is there anything astrological to that, or is it just that some of us have bad luck?
Oh, there's so much. That's right. No, it's not necessarily bad luck. It's how the transits, which are the planetary action, what's going on in the sky, is also triggering your planets. Do you know? For instance, you can have not such a great day when the moon in the sky is squaring to your own moon, and squares create challenges. So if your moon, first set your moon's in Aquarius that I know of, mm-hmm. when the moon's in Scorpio, which squares to you, water to air, mm-hmm. it's going to make you feel heavy. And although Scorpio moon is a very emotional moon anyway, it's not comfortable with brainy, zany Aquarius moon. Your moon wants to get in touch with the mind and intellect and to work things out in the head and read lots of books and be on your device. But the moon is Scorpio per se, or if their moon is in Scorpio and squares to your moon, moon's also how we get our emotional needs met and what we need, what our security measures are.
So everybody's different. Everybody's needs are different. And all of that is seen in an astrological chart. Like if you look at somebody's chart, can you know what I need in a relationship?
Absolutely.
What do I need in a relationship?
Your moon is in Aquarius,
yes.
So you need intellectual stimulation. You
yes.
cannot just be with a man that will just lay around and just say, "Babe, what can I bring you?" You're going to need stimulation. Although that's really nice to serve your Leo rising, because Leo
right.
wants to be served, darling.
Right. So I know that in some cultures, like in India, they will do the astrological charts before people get married. Do you think there's any validity in that?
Oh, absolutely. And I understand that when they place people's connections, it's not based on the sun sign, it's based on the moon sign. And the moon, why? Because we need our emotional connection. The sun is just more of the projection of the light and the ego. So when your moon is in connection to the other person's moon, and it's easy, like they say, it's a trine, then it can be simpatico. It could be easy. It'll be, they get you, they can gel. And specifically in India, they say, and I read this in a book from Dennis Harness, actually, and forgive me, the name of the title eludes me right now, because I've read so many books about astrology. But if the woman's moon is behind the man's moon, she will feel like she's the one that's doing the work. And she's chasing him, and she's frustrated because she's got to be the one that makes the plans, and she's going to be the one that, honey, I thought we were going to go on a vacation. Oh, yeah, I'll get to that. Where if it's the man's moon that's behind the woman's moon, he will do the work and he will come after her. And, she won't feel so ignored, right?
Okay, so let's take like a famous. We'll do like a famous example of. Oh, am I out of here? Let me go closer to you. So let's do a famous example of this.
I got a Brad Pitt up.
Oh, Brad Pitt. Okay.
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, that's an interesting couple to talk about, because it seems to me like it's a very energetic couple. We all know them, so we can use them, I guess, as an astrologue. We don't know them personally, but they're famous, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't seem to be able to quit each other, do they? They seem to always be going back. So what would be an example of some of the things you see when you put those two charts together?
Oh, wow. Well, the first thing I see, which is interesting, is his North Node, which rules the soul, the karma, the dharma, what you're here to do in your life. His North Node is in Sagittarius. Mm-hmm. And Sag is very expansive. It also likes to party a lot, which is their problem right now. Mm-hmm. Sag likes to indulge with everything.
Interesting.
Right? Mm-hmm. And but it's exactly to the degree to conjoin Ceres at 0 degrees exact, which Ceres is about children. And so although him and Jennifer might have had their own karma dharma, she wasn't going to propel his soul to the advocate and activist that Brad needed to become.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
So they came together to fulfill each other's karma in this lifetime, which was to turn him into the advocate he was supposed to be, to have the children, because he wasn't going to be able to have children with that partner.
And he wouldn't have, no offense to Jennifer Aniston, he would not have become all that he needed to be just hanging out on the red carpet and doing movies all the time like she wanted to do. I mean, it's possible, but it wouldn't have been the push like Angelina Jolie, prompted him, expanded him, exponentially ascended him to get to this place where he was playing out his Mars, which is his action planet, conjoin his South Node, and Sun, which is activist aspect.
Oh, how interesting. So in a way, even though the relationship didn't work out between the two of them, they became, in many ways, actualized. They fulfilled a lot of their purpose together.
And they were meant to have children. Absolutely. And she is his dream, because Neptune, which is like the higher octave of Venus,
interesting.
It's also very compassionate. It's also very forgiving, is right on his ascendant within 1 degree, which is very tight. And they have so many connections. Now the vertex, which is a fated aspect, is conjoined her beautiful Venus.
What does that mean? Translate that into English.
Conjoined means it's together. So her Venus, what one would aspire to value, Venus is about love. It's how you
romantic love, right?
Romantic love, as well as how you spend money, how you make money, the power of money.
Huh.
Her Venus is actually in his house, placed in his house when you do the synastry, the wheel of her planets on his planets. Her Venus is right smack within 1 degree, very important, on his vertex in his house of intimacy, partnership, bonding, transformation, sex, taxes, and also insurance. So,
and they're suing for all of that, from what I understand. So,
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
So
that's very fated.
Yeah. Okay. So,
but they fight too.
Right.
And why they fight is because of Mars squaring Mars. Look at this. His Mars is at 10 degrees Capricorn. Her Mars is Mars in Aries, square exact 10 degrees. They are not making babies and having a goal, they're going to have a conflict, right?
Right. So when you look at a chart like that, can you see it ending? can you see, like, this is a chart where these people are doomed, or this is a chart where they will, well, they're always going to be connected because they have children together. But I mean, do you look at this chart and say, oh, this is a relationship that had a time limit? Like it was never supposed to go the distance.
That's very interesting because that is a premise of when you do meet. If there is a void of course moon, which is like an absence of a moon, where an absence of feeling, an absence of any other connection in the sky, when the moon is just like floating out there. Like
Moonstruck, where he met her during the full moon, right? During the movie Moonstruck.
Yes.
The moon brings the love, and then she meets Nicolas Cage.
I love that movie.
So that would be an example of the placement of the moon had an actual energetic impact on helping these two people come together. They came together under the moon.
Yes.
That's very cool.
And they came together under Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and you know that there's capacity for them to argue. Like, yes. I don't know if it's as violent, but boy, she could probably kick his butt.
Really?
Although I can't say that. But I don't know if you saw that movie. That was intense. But they have so much connection. I mean, look at this. Her vertex is 11 degrees, exact Sagittarius, right on his rising sign. So they had to come together. They had to make these beautiful children. They had to come together and build something. And if they don't ascend and get better, because, her North Node, what is she going to bring him? It's in the 12th house in Sagittarius. What is the 12th house? Drugs, alcohol.
Oh, wow.
Right? So there's the karma right there. She's going to expand and say, let's not be in denial of this. You've got a problem. No offense, Brad. I love you. But her North Node is going to bring that up, magnify it, and say, let's be good for the kids at least, right? In front of the North Node on that, to the degrees, 0 degrees, to the condition of her series, which is inner child wounds, where he have deep, inconsolable grief. And where he's going to have deep, inconsolable grief, look at that, is Ceres in his 12th house, which is the house of drugs, alcohol, isolation, jail, which I think he got into some trouble.
Yeah,
right?
He's been arrested, yeah.
Yeah. And look, it's near Black Lilith Moon. Now, what is Black Lilith Moon? It's where we have repressed rage. It's where we have repressed anger. So if somebody's one of their planets is right on that Black Lilith Moon, they're going to bring it out in you. They're going to bring out fire. They're going to bring out anger that you didn't know you had. Like, for instance, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Okay, that's a crazy story. Very controversial. But if anybody has the power to bring out anger and rage, it's those two, because it was the Pluto conjunct his Black Lilith Moon to the degree, or it was the other way around. I'd have to go look again.
So Black Lilith Moon is kind of like who brings out your shadow.
Yes. Repressed rage.
Oh, how? Wow. Where's my Black Moon with that person? Persons, there's a lot of them. There's a few people I've been having some moon stuff with.
I will look.
No, we don't have to do that. It was just a joke. But actually, before we close, I just wanted to ask if you had any predictions in general for us as humanity, what you think we should be focusing on to help the planet, to help the world in 2023. If you have any seeds of wisdom, particularly those of us who are still looking for love. Any suggestions you have other than getting a reading with you?
Well, I'd like to say on a collective level, everything is externally manifest. What's going on in the world with war? Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, when we had COVID, there was no war going on, right? Mm-hmm. But then when the COVID, everything started opening up and, the world was coming back, Mars was conjoining Venus. And what happened? We now have this crazy war that's going on. Now, Mars is a hot fire planet and Venus is all about love. But together, those can bring out some intense energies, right? And which started the Ukraine-Putin drama, right? But if we go in and we master our own inner anger, our own inner war, and really come into place where we are nothing but love and peace and compassion, and we train ourselves not to get triggered.
Oh, wow. That's a very good point. So in plainer words, we are collectively, because of our inability to handle our own internal rage, creating tension in the world that the rest of us are collectively responding to, and those places that are vulnerable will become enraged in war. And so all we have control over is our own internal issues with anger.
That's right. And to project to the future, because we have so many people talking about, there's so many people out there right now that we're in fear. And what happens when I fear anything, I create it. If I fear a flat tire, I will create it within a day, that day. And so I have to master my mind. And so everybody's talking war, war, war. And you turn on the news and the media is all about war, war, war. And we're afraid of Putin. And I've seen his chart. He's not a person that will back down. But let's project to the future that he is, and the whole world for that matter, is at peace. Because if we see peace, then we're going to see the external world being peaceful.
And also be in a place of internal peace.
Absolutely. Because the external world is meeting us in our inner mirror. Right.
That's so interesting. Sharon Stone, she's very beautiful, Sharon Stone, but a lot of people don't know she's a genius. She's actually brilliant. And she had a peace plan I think it was with the UN, and she came to Israel and talked about it, about how everybody can work on their internal peace rather than having it always be a projection of what somebody else needs to do in order to create peace. We can all just look at our own internal stuff. And it's kind of interesting that what you're saying kind of corresponds with some of what Sharon Stone has written about.
So that's right. Kind of or cool. Do the Ho'oponopono. Do you know about that?
Yeah, she's really connected with that kind of awareness.
Right, so. Because it's always extension of, even if it's just even one molecule, even 0.1% of the molecule that's within us is also externally manifest, including in our icons. So we know when people would divide in, the politics, the blue versus the red, and I try to transcend all that, because you have to be able to see both sides of people and to see the illusion of control.
Well, that's empathy, isn't it? That's what I do as an empath, is I try to put myself in the shoes of everybody. Even when Russia was being aggressive, when I put myself in the shoes as a heart-centered remote viewer of what it is to be a Russian, there's no way I'm going to hand over Vladimir Putin whether you like him or not, he's our president. We're not going to give him over the head. To really put yourself in the shoes of, even if you don't, we stand from a place of the West looking to the East. But what is it like to sit from the East and look to the West and see these aggressors coming in and cutting off our gas pipelines?
Oh my God,
and
it's so scary.
Yeah, so it's really important to have that ability, particularly when you're a reader. And I think that's why you're good at your job, is because we have to be able to stand back and see both sides. And in a way, it's kind of difficult because we're mediators to some extent. But you were going to say something.
But that's very important, because the South Node, transiting South Node, it's called K2, is what we have to let go of as a collective community. And the South Node in K2, interestingly enough, is Scorpio. And what is Scorpio? Anything that's underneath the earth. So what are we having to let go of? Our oil. We have to transcend and go to the next level. We have to go to other sustainable energy like hydrogen, or electric, but electric still feels vulnerable to me because anything can be taken out with the grid.
Well, you can produce it with wind and also with waves now. And also the waves that they're using to create electricity are also being used to clean the seas. So the energy being pumped from the waves is then being used to collect garbage. It's absolutely crazy what people are inventing.
Whoa, that's incredible.
We now have the knowledge to save the world. We can grow meat from yeast. It's insane. So we have all the knowledge now to save the world. And so I just feel like, as a remote viewer, and I'm glad you really taught me something. You really taught me something tonight about internal peace. And if I'm raging at somebody else, it's because they're my mirror. And because it's really not about them. It's because they are maybe reminding me of what my issue is. It's like they are reflecting back my shadow.
If they're in front of you, they're part of you.
Yeah, if they're the mirror, and if I'm fighting that person, it's because, well, maybe I maybe when he says these things that hurt me, it's because deep down I feel it's true. And so maybe get him or her out of the picture and do some internal work. Well, do I feel that way about myself? And like, why am I attracting relationships that are toxic? Unless there must be something in that toxicity that reflects my own internal beliefs about myself.
That's right, because they're always the external dialogue of your internal world, right? They're what they're speaking of to you is something you might have your inner doubt within yourself. Right? Or your own inner anger, or where your wound is, where the wound is in the chart actually is Chiron. So you can actually see what is designated for you to work on. And if somebody, let's say, here's a perfect example of betrayal. And I don't want you to look for it in your chart, but if transiting Chiron, which is what's going on around in the sky, hits your Juno, which is jealousy, the goddess of jealousy, where we have to master jealousy. And we all have to master these 7 deadly sins. Mars being anger, Juno is jealousy, the sun is our ego, the moon is our emotions. When Saturn comes around, which is a restricted planet, and they call it the devil, when Saturn hits the moon, we're here to master our emotions. We're here to master our reaction. And Neptune is where we learn compassion and where we get in touch with our heightened needs for the dream and the collective, where we can, what also is eroded and what's not necessary. And Neptune's so it involves drugs and alcohol, but there's so much more. But when you have let's say Chiron coming back to Juno, there can be a betrayal of some form, and it doesn't have to be like a romantic betrayal. If Juno is in your house of work and Chiron comes around, that darn intern that only worked there for 3 months is going to get that job, and you're going to get reactive if you're not careful, if you're not conscious.
This is such, man, the light bulb went off for me today. Thank you so much. If people want to get a reading with you, how do they make that happen?
Christopher'sLamp.com and get on my schedule.
All right, great. So Christopher's Lamp.
Christopher S. Lamp, Christopher'sLamp.com.
Just, yeah. And Darleen, Christopher, anything else you want to close out the talk with today before we close?
So much love. Just be nothing but love. And see our world being at peace. See Putin and Ukraine, the whole thing just coming to a place of nothing but love and compassion for each other. And just share our resources. The reason why everything's happening right now is that our resources being diminished, and we're supposed to let it go. We're supposed to heighten and evolve it.
Well, I think we're seeing that in the southern United States right now, because they wanted to close the border on the southern border because the land is drying and drought is happening in Central America. And so they're coming south, and now it's hitting the south. So the south may be coming to the north. So what do? Do we close people from the southern states like what happened during the Dust Bowl? And so it becomes the karma that ripples.
We have to share.
Yeah.
We have to share.
Yeah, share and save one another.
Right?
Help
our brother.
Yeah, the cooperation. That's how we save ourselves. Thank you so much, sweetie.
Thank you.
I love you. I adore you. You're my best friend forever.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for hanging with us on this post-Thanksgiving get-together. And I hope that we can talk again, that we will do this again. We will definitely do this again. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the support and love. Bye-bye.
Thank you.